Okay, we're going to cover the selection and program info notes. Some is recapping because we have already covered it on previous notes. So creating a new file, let's start there. There's a shortcut, Command N, or go to File New. And you can see again the shortcut, Command N. When the window opens, you should always make sure that you are setting your own size. Unless you see the size actually in here, go over to the fields where you can enter your own. So the first thing you have to do though is set your unit of measure. You will probably see as a default pixels, but you might see any of these. Since inches is our standard use or standard measurement, let's switch. So we don't want to create really small files. If you open a photo when we're editing and that photo happens to be a small file, that's one thing. But when we are creating new files to do a project, we will almost always do at least 10 by 10 and 8.5 by 11 or 11 by 17. So where it says unit of measure, inches, and let's have a default height and width. So it could be, let's just say 8.5 by 11, since that's a standard sheet of paper if we were to print. And whether it's oriented to be portrait or landscape, that's up to you. Just to give you a frame of size, if I don't tell you in an assignment a particular size, let's try not to go much lower than 8.5 by 11. I mean, if you choose to do a 10 by 10, an 8 by 8, but as our standard, we're going to do a sheet, and that would be 8.5 by 11. Never go below 72, where it says here pixels per inch. That is little tiny boxes of color within every inch. The higher the number of resolution, the more tiny boxes of color in every inch. And the more boxes of color, the more detail. We'll go into this a little bit more at another time, but just keep in mind, never go below 72. You can keep that in your resolution. Color mode, you have some different options here. We are going to work in RGB color. That stands for red, green, blue. That is the color mode for digital work. We do later on talk about CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and K stands for black. For color printing process, if you traditionally were creating work just to print, you would work with CMYK. We are really creating for digital environment, but we can print as well. So a grayscale would be, white to black, all the value. But for now, just keep in mind RGB. You should have that here where it says color mode, and click create. I'm going to zoom out. Okay, we have covered canvas as far as resizing and anchoring. One more time, I will copy. Oh, actually, we don't need to copy anything. If I'm resizing my canvas, it's image canvas size. I can anchor the image to the current image to wherever it is and add, let's say I wanted to add 10 inches and I'm adding it to the top and anchoring what is here now to the bottom. Command minus, just a recap. So resizing, you just go to image and canvas size. Anchoring is when you set the current image to hold in a particular place. Okay, image size. image size. I can make an adjustment here, but it will change not only the image or picture, it's also going to change the canvas in the background. So if I change this from an 8.8 to a 10 by 10, click OK, everything changed. Not just the canvas, not just the picture. If I wanted to go to image size, and not keep things proportional, I could click on this link. I could change my width to 10. I could change my height to 20 and resize. So when it's linked, when the height and width are linked, they proportionally resize. When you unlink, they can be distorted or changed independently. Okay. Ruler. You can see I have a ruler up here across the top, down the side. Command R turns it off or on. Command R. If you forget the shortcut, think about where it might make sense. If you are looking at a ruler, you might go to View and go down to Rulers, and you see the shortcut, Command R. Okay? Good thing to get used to. Shortcuts make your life easier. Guides. Guides are really helpful to guide you when you are doing something. Perhaps you want to align things in a certain way to your canvas, or in the case of making a selection, you could use guides to guide where you put the selection. So let me give you an example. I'm going to click inside the ruler and drag a guide down. Now, if you leave the guides on your screen, they don't print. So don't worry about guides being left here on your screen, although you can cancel them. I'm pulling a guide out to each side of one of these grapes. Oops, so sorry. Click in the ruler and drag it over. So if you'll notice, I have a guide gently sitting at the top of the grape, gently sitting at the bottom, gently sitting to the right and to the left. So I've made a sort of a bounding box, but it's not really there. If I printed it, those blue lines would not show up. But I want to just copy that grape specifically. So it will make sense to use the elliptical marquee to select it, because it also is round. You can always use any selection tool you want, but the idea is by exploring each tool, you will have an idea of which tools will work best for different scenarios. I'm going to go to the corner or the intersecting guides here, click and drag down to the bottom, and I am making a very precise selection right around here. Now, if this was a different shape, it might not work so well, but I know with a very strong circle, I can use guides, get my elliptical marquee, click and drag, and now I'm just going to copy Command C, Command V, and look at that, I've put that grape on its own layer, and I can make these lines or guides disappear by going to View and Clear Guides, and now they're gone, and look at how nice and round that grape is. Okay. So again, you pull your guides out of the ruler, and they are just what they're called. They are guides. Okay? Next, selection. Okay, we have definitely done lots of select. If I want to select everything on my screen, I have two different things going on here. I can do Command A, and notice all the way around the edge I have that blinking line or marching ants. All of the art is selected. Press delete. Now, it only deleted that large full screen image because that is the layer I am selecting. If I want to delete that individual grape, I'd select that layer, and now I can press delete because, as you see, the selection is still there. So selection of everything is Command A. Deselect, Command D. If let me open my history real quickly, and I'm going to bring back that original, and I'm going to just hide my history there and close paths because we don't need that right now. Okay, to add to a selection, I'm going to unlock that layer. Let's say I'm just going to do a really quick, I just made a selection. What if I wanted to also select this grape? Well, I could select everything in between, but I don't want that, right? I just want this scrape, very quick selection, and this one down here. So I'm going to hold Shift, and look at that. You can add to a selection by holding Shift. Now, what if I've selected too much? I can delete from a selection. Okay? Notice when I added to the selection and held Shift, that lasso gets a plus sign. That's telling me I'm going to add to the selection. But I'm going to use delete from a selection now, and that is done by holding the Option key. So let's say I wanted to clean the selection up and get that little bubbly edge off. And maybe over here I wanted to take a little bit off. Basically what you do is you surround an area, and look at that, it removes it. Surround an area and it removes it. Or hold Shift, go back, and fix the selection by going around it, and now it added. So adding to a selection, you hold Shift. Deleting from a selection, you hold Option. And that covers selection and program information notes.